We are in the midst of a very unusual political cycle. Generally speaking, by August, by even July of the year previous to the election, it is quite clear what all our candidates are doing. We know what the parties are going to do. We know who their standard bearers will be. We know which team belongs to which party, and all of this. Right now, as we speak, there are only one main declaration as a candidate for presidency. We do not have any presidential and vice presidential teams still formed. The parties have not made clear what it is that they are going to do. And it is very important for us to watch what parties will do, because in a national election, it is impossible to run a successful campaign without strong national political machinery. You cannot be in every one of the 7,107 islands of the Philippines. You must have people working for you, and that is the role that the party plays for its candidates. Running for a national position is an extremely important, profound decision to make that we must really seek clarity before we make such decisions. A year ago, it was very clear, Binay Rojas. In the past year, many things changed. Other names have come up, other team-ups have happened. The assumed position in terms of popularity have also changed. And again, the dynamic only began in the last few months, and belatedly again in the last few months. And that's why I think that right now, you could say that it is very late in the day for our political leadership, for our political candidates for the next election. The picture is still quite unclear. As to the specific question on Mayor Dicong Duterte, we have actually been friends for a very long time, and I of course am very grateful to be considered as anyone's running mate, because that is immediately an assessment of you as an asset to such an effort. I believe that the mayor will be a great asset to any team for whatever position. He has shown his capabilities, and he has shown that he can get, as I mentioned earlier, the job done. But again, it's funny to be able to say this at the end of July, but to say that it's still early and it's still not yet clear to finalize those kinds of discussions.
Senator, I will not stress you with any political question. I will ask you a very simple question, which is a day-to-day problem of all of us. Let's just talk about EDSA. How would you solve that problem and to minimize the traffic in that particular area, considering that EDSA is the main tollway of Metro Manila?
I think there is no need to reinvent the wheel. We can look to our neighbors and see what their solutions were and what were successful. It must be founded on having a good, efficient, cheap mass transit system. A mass transit system that actually has the capacity to move people and goods in a way that is acceptable to people. You cannot, it's all very well having an MRT, but if any one of you has ridden the MRT in the last few months, you will all know that it is not an acceptable way to travel, simply because the inefficiency of the rail system. You never know if you are going to actually get to your destination, or if you will stop in the middle of your trip. You do not even know when you are going to be able to buy tickets. You cannot buy tickets on a long-term basis because the machine doesn't work, it broke. These are problems that simply should no longer exist. It is saddening to note that when the LRT was first put online, we were the first country in Southeast Asia to have a mass transit system. And here we find ourselves, the only way that we can boast about our mass transit system is that we can say, unlike other countries in the Philippines, our trains fly. And that is the only good thing that you can say about it. And even then, it is rather a painful joke for those who have to suffer the indignity of waking up at 4 in the morning to get to their work at 9 and getting home at 1 in the morning, having to cook dinner, take their 2-hour rest and start again. And this is simply unacceptable. And again, we base it on the mass transit system. The solutions that we see in terms of actual personal conveyance, in terms of personal vehicles, we look at Singapore, we look at London, they simply make it so expensive for you to run a car that it discourages most, I would say 90-95% of people to have a car. But people have to get to work. People have to get home from work. Therefore, you cannot do that without a very, very efficient and widespread mass transit system.
I have two questions. Number one, you touched base on, and as being the chairman of the Public Works Committee in the Senate, I would like to ask, because I have noticed that most of the PPPs that have been implemented or finalized or awarded are what I personally call elitist PPPs, as they focus on skyways, road extensions, but not touching base on mass transit and railways. So what are your views, hypothetically, when you run as president and get elected?
I think the concept of PPPs is a valuable one, and I think we still don't get it in government in the Philippines of what a PPP should really be. We also have a very limited view on how to assess projects. The COA, or the Commission on Audit, will simply look the lowest price. Anything that you do that does not involve the lowest price supplier immediately is viewed with suspicion. The difficulty with the proper implementation of PPPs, as I see it, is the ability for government to assess quality. A qualitative analysis rather than a simply quantitative analysis. I have made a bit of a study on this because we were writing the amendments to the PPP law. And the idea should really be, rather than dictating in very strict terms to a private sector partner what they should do and what the project should entail, I think that the view should come from the other end. The view should come from the required deliverables that you are asking of your private sector partner. How they go about it is up to them. It is in their interest to make a profit, and therefore it is also in their interest to make the project work, to be profitable, to be efficient, because only then will they make money. Now, we have seen examples, most notably in Australia, in Melbourne and in Victoria, where they simply make up a list of deliverables. Now, when we talk about a list of deliverables, the deliverables again should not be purely in terms of quantity, in terms of quantity, in terms of cost, but also in terms of quality. As an example that I saw, a children's hospital was built in Melbourne, and before they drew up the list of deliverables, they surveyed all the stakeholders, the children, the parents, the doctors, the nurses, the workers, the technicians, all of them, and said, what would you like in our hospital? And they put that together, the list of deliverables together, and they bidded on several firms bidded on the project, and they allowed for beyond the straight list, the list of deliverables as I mentioned. They allowed the private sector partner to do whatever else they wanted, so long as they provided those deliverables.